You know, some people enjoy composing their own music, chord by chord, and others are happiest when they come across that one perfect song. Work is not a lot different than that. Whether you prefer building your own workflow or using a pre-made template, with Monday.com, you and the team can work in a way that's comfortable for everyone. Tap the banner to go to Monday.com and build your own amazing workflow, or find an awesome template. No judgment.
So Just Between Us Girls.
Yeah. Now, Taylor, a very special edition of Just Between Us Girls, because I know usually this is a secret conversation between me and you. No one else hears it.
Exactly.
Nobody. This is just you and me before we go on air shooting the shit. But this one, I got to tell you, I'm releasing to the public. So that means...
What?
Yep. Yep. So be careful what you say. Usually... Taylor, for some reason, will just blurt out his ATM codes and all his
Social Security,
his streaming platform codes, passwords, and stuff like that. Like that's how I get. Now it's weird. Taylor, that's how I have my subscriptions to Chaos Men and Bellamy and Naked Sword
God.
and Corbin Fisher. And Active Duty.
In other words, you have passwords to no one's talked to, porn sites no one's talked about in 6 years.
That's what I think is so weird about Taylor. He's not subscribed to the big ones. He's subscribed to what's the one where the little Latino man blows all the military guys? Military Classified. Taylor subscribes.
I have a platinum membership to badpuppy.com.
Yeah. He's on Mormon Boys and Brother Crush and all kinds of insane sketchy sex and Fraternity X.
Fraternity X, yeah. Uh-huh. Well, I mean, it's a package deal, so to speak. You have to, because you always have to see, like, is the guy going to be able to take the 80 loads of the 6 guys that are coming into the house randomly? Yeah. The new build house that has no furniture, but yet somehow is filthy all over the floor.
Lucas Entertainment. Beefcake Hunter. Anyway.
Check Hunter.
Oh, Check Hunter. This is what a fucking nerd I am. Whenever I watch Check Hunter, I have also a separate window open with a money translator to see how much. Because he'll be like, I'm giving you 1 billion Turkish francs or whatever they're called, right? A million.
$17.
Yeah. No, it is like $42. And they're like, 1 billion, whatever, lira or whatever this is. And I'm like, oh, it's $42. Anyway. Also, a lot of those guys you see on other porns. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't real?
Like Bait Bus. Wait a minute.
Oh, they're on Bait Bus?
They didn't just pick that random guy up from the street.
Yeah.
That's Aspen. Yeah. I know him.
Yeah, I'm always like, I don't get it. Anyway.
Why does he look so surprised that a guy is blowing him?
Have I talked to you since I got my second shot?
No.
Yeah.
No.
So I, like Adam Burns, and very wisely, I cleared out the next couple of days on my schedule to be prepared to. And fortunately, I got nothing. I got from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. I got, like, my skin was sensitive. Like, it felt like almost like I had a sunburn.
Okay.
And I took some Tylenol and it went away. And then here's what's strange. So I got it Monday. I gave myself Tuesday, Wednesday. And then yesterday, that's Thursday, for like an hour in the middle of the day, I got very mild headache, achy, flu-like symptoms. And then it passed. So I think there was something still going on. But it only lasted very briefly. And it was kind of like, that feels off, But that was it. That was all I got. What about you? What was your reaction?
I had the first dose I got the next day. I had a couple of times where all of a sudden I would get this wave of lethargy where I would just suddenly want to close my eyes. But then Jay Ellis's voice would wake me up. I'm like, I'm listening to a podcast. So I would wake up.
Poor Jay Ellis.
And that only happened a couple of times. And then the second time, the only thing, my arm, they did 2 different arms. And for some reason, when they did the left arm, even though I'm right-handed, it like really hurt.
No. I had, you know what? I keep forgetting to mention that. That was another thing too. I had them in the same arm, and the second shot hurt much more than the first one was kind of like a boo hacker.
It felt like when you were a kid and you got a vaccine and you would do that where you would like purposely lift your arm up because it would hurt. So you would try to like kind of work it out.
Yeah.
This one, it felt like somebody took a baseball bat to my arm. It killed the one side.
Yeah. I had the same experience, but I didn't count that. Those are my only experiences. But other than that, I've been doing fine. I've been chilling, relaxing, maxing, playing some b-ball by the school. And,
you.
And anyway, but Taylor, one of the things, the reason we're doing this on the public feed, the reason we're doing this right now, so we're doing something very special. This was not my idea. I don't remember whose idea it was, but on Discord, I mentioned that we were not going to be doing a full recap of the reunion because I feel we got burned last year, right? Where it was like the Zoom one, and we're like, I don't know. They talked on Zoom, and they're doing the reunion itself again via Zoom. It's another Zoom reunion.
Right.
And so we decided, I'm not going to do a full fucking recap to hear, talk about Tamisha talking about what she's been doing during the pandemic or something like that, or her colostomy bag or something. So.
Okay.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not going
to talk about her. Maybe she'll stone her colostomy.
No, look, if she goes on there and talks about her ostomy bag, more power to her and I'll be interested. But is that worth recapping?
Well, but that was kind of where she didn't tell anybody what was going on until she was leaving. So I could see that could be a story point for tonight as far as people talking about the fact, why didn't you tell us, that could be something that could come up.
She did say JK though. Anyway, people should have kept that in mind. But what I'm telling you though is that despite all that, even though you said that, if that happens, you and I are going to come back briefly on the air after the reunion, and just, if anything, we might just be like, yeah, that was nothing.
That happened.
Yeah, that happened. All right, see you later, everybody. But this is a pre-one. We don't know what's going to happen. So my first question to you is, what do you think is going to happen? Do you have any predictions?
The only prediction is I think that they're doing the classic teaser of where they show in the trailer, they show Tamisha saying, Candy and I would never be friends. And I think that is a subterfuge. That is goopery, where I think that is going to be where it is actually the full conversation is going to be, we would have never been friends had we never had this experience, but now we're sisters and we love each other and we support one another and blah, 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 blah.
100%.
They're setting that up to look like there's going to be a fight between Candy and Tamisha. I've watched enough commercials for all of these VH1 shows of all of these women screaming and fighting with each other and stuff to know if there's a fight, they're going to show reactions of both parties.
Yeah.
So
and also,
that's the one thing.
Not only that, the one other hint we have to what you're saying is that at the time that this Tamisha and Candy blow up was happening, Candy, I would say, was actually very supportive on social media of Tamisha whenever she referenced Tamisha. She was never like, yeah, fuck that bitch. She was just like, pretty much along the lines of, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Tamisha and I are sisters, and just because you saw a moment on screen doesn't mean blah, 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 blah. The one I would say might be interesting, because I feel there has been shade, is Elliot with 2 T's and his or her problematic statements on race since the show and things that she said on the show. And Candy has alluded to that on social media that they're...
I don't know anything about that. I don't know what you're talking about with that.
Well, clearly people don't listen to the show.
No. You and I have been talking about the fact that I've been slowly catching up on podcasts, and I am in December. I haven't gotten to any of our episodes left, any of the rumor mills. I haven't done anything. So at some point I will hear about this problematic behavior.
Tamisha went on a show, some sort of web show. And in talking about Simone, I'm not going to get the quote right. So I want to say in advance, I'm so paraphrasing that it might even get the intent wrong. But was saying something along the lines
of Elliot.
Oh, I'm sorry. Elliot with 2 T's. Thank you.
Okay.
Elliot with 2 T's was on a show with like a bunch of drag queens talking about Drag Race and said that Simone had that black girl magic. Okay, which is okay, fine, weird. Yeah. But maybe but without the attitude or something like that, or like something along those lines. Okay, I'm paraphrasing. I just remember there was a black girl magic, but and it was meant to be polite, and everybody was like, everybody
without being aggressive. It's being said in the chat room.
Oh yeah. Thank you. That's what it was. Without being aggressive, and then that's when all of a sudden you just had the.
Well, hold up. Wait a minute.
And and.
Okay, I can see where that would be a problem.
Yeah. And then since then, people have talked about, and then there was the stuff that happened on the show. Wasn't there some sort of racial thing that happened on the show that and they were calling her Elliot with 3 Ks and all this stuff. And,
I'm sorry. That's horrible. That's funny, but that's horrible.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if that stuff will come up. I will say, and then also, Elliot's initial apology was not super elegant, you know.
I'm sorry if I offended you kind of thing. Like,
yeah, but then obviously talked to a PR person or something and was like, and so came on with a much more nuanced apology,
right,
and whatnot, and so it fixed itself, and so like that sort of subsided. So that's the thing too. The problem with this season being so long is that even all those dramas are like, oh yeah, that was like in February. We are now going into May, you know?
I feel like there was somebody that wasn't in... they kind of flash to a bunch of the different girls, their looks, and they don't show Utica's in it. So then it's one of these where I'm like, was Utica not a part of it? Or
I don't know.
Or are they just saving that for when she actually...
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I really haven't seen much about this, but I will say I saw some sort of like social media post from the official Drag Race account, and they were going through the letters of the alphabet, and there'd be some sort of moment from this season that highlighted that. And at least, there's, there are 104 letters in the alphabet or something, right? And in one of those, I know about half of those, maybe a quarter. I don't know math.
Or the alphabet.
I was like, oh my God, that happened this season. Like anything that had Kimora Hall in it, I was like,
when she goes Hall, because we watched that the other night. I was like, oh God, she was there. We see the commercials where they talk about it, and when they show Elliot and Kimora, I'm always like, oh God, they were on the season.
Yes, I know. And so, like, or Tamisha even, but the fight was so iconic, it's sort of ingrained in my brain. But like, the fight was, 3 months ago.
Do you think? Okay, so I guess they seem to be doing a really big push to support World of Wonder, RuPaul's Drag Race, whatever you want to call it, to support Candy.
Yeah.
Where I think they are trying to lead us into this reunion and finale, not hating Candy as much as many of us do.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember them doing that with Silky? Or had Silky just kind of made her own bed at that point?
No, I don't remember that.
Like, there just seems to be a lot of like PR push, and I know Michelle interviewed her for What You Packin'. They've done the makeup tutorial, and they definitely tried to soften her over the course of the last couple of episodes. And I get that that's the storyline arc. I'm just curious as to how that is going to be, especially if the Tamisha versus Candy thing comes up tonight. What's going to come of that, and it's curious.
I see what you're saying, and I don't think it's a terrible not theory, but I get the little wink you're giving me. But I don't think, if I had to guess outright, I don't think it's a racial thing in so much as I believe Candy Ho, that's her name, Candy Muse. Candy Muse was much more of a team player than I feel Silky was. And so I think they like Candy a lot more than Silky. I feel like Silky was just difficult. Okay?
Okay.
And also, if you think about it, Silky was causing problems throughout the entire season. The one thing I will say about Candy, and I don't like Candy, was pretty soon after the Tamisha thing, I think she realized how she was coming off. I think she even says that, right? When she was last episode.
She said that the episode after, I think after Tamisha goes home,
that she realized how she could come off, and so she softened up, and so I think the production saw more that it was a bad moment and not necessarily a trend, even though I still don't like Candy so much. I feel Candy's been buoyed along, and but I don't know. That is true, though. I think she's gotten a lot more. But it also could be just a larger trend where I think the show's just trying to be nicer.
Yeah.
Where I think they were still, even though that was only 2 seasons ago, I think they were still in the, like, let's be mean kind of thing. So,
well, because it feels like you hear other girls, like, kind of support one another and, you know, from other seasons and stuff. And it feels like that even this moment of you and I will never be friends, you and I will never be sisters, that kind of thing between Candy and Tamisha, you can see them kind of being friends, but you don't ever, not that you necessarily hear a lot about Evie Oddly, but you never hear about there being any sort of support or anything for Silky. And I'm not sure why I'm bringing up Silky all of a sudden. I guess just because it's reunion stuff. So I'm thinking about previous seasons and stuff that happened to Small forever ago.
Yeah, I don't know. That is a very good point. Because I feel like, I just feel like the Silky stuff just went all the way to the end. Now, Taylor, are you ready to hear? Okay. Your top 4. Do you remember who your top 4 were?
No, I don't remember
no
who my
idea.
top 4 were.
So if you had to guess,
I remember liking Simone, but if I remember correctly, thinking she's not going to go very far.
Oh,
I kind of remember that for some reason.
Okay. So all I have is your top 4. That's all I pulled. So it's only 45 seconds. You just literally give your top 4. Okay.
Okay.
We're going to play that.
I'm terrified.
Let's see how well you did. How many? Okay, so there's 4. How many right do you think you got out of the 4? I know the answer.
I think I got 2 right.
Okay.
I think, but this is also important to know that I love the Meet the Queens episode that we do every year. I feel like I have to, you know, do a precursor to this, and I get this wrong every single year, and I own that, and I surrender to it, and I'm totally okay with it.
Yeah, somebody wrote me a private message, I think on Instagram or maybe via email, and they were like, I think they thought they were going to get me mad. They were like, ha 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 ha, listening to your something Meet the Queens, you and Taylor were so wrong, ha 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 ha. And I was like, we're always wrong.
That's the fun of it.
Yeah.
That's the fun of it.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
So my top 4, or okay, let me rephrase that. The ones I think will be in the top 4.
Yeah. Maybe not your favorites, but who you predict.
Not my favorites.
Yeah, who you predict will be in the top 4, yeah.
I would say Elliot with 2 T's, which actually...
Right off the bat, Elliot with 2 T's. I want to know...
because I like a racist.
Yeah.
I always like a racist in that top 4.
I want to stop right there. I want to know what you saw in this Elliot with 2 T's that you were like, he's top 4 material.
I think... I don't know. I definitely was smitten with Elliot with 2 T's. I thought Elliot 2 T's was a cute... but that was more as a boy. Like, we hadn't really seen Elliot as a boy yet. But I think I thought that there was a cute boy underneath that. And that, oh, wait a second. I just think I realized who the other person is. And that they were going to go far because they were going to have, like, the Aquaria fans or the, you know, the ones that like the Twinkie white gay sort of. Like, that's kind of where I thought that was going.
Interesting. Okay. I'm actually going to copy this right here. I want to have this right there. Okay. All right. You ready?
Yep.
Okay. Here we go.
Actually, that may switch. That one is one that could possibly switch with the other ones. That now that I'm looking at that, I'm sort of like, why did I say that? But there's something about Elliot that I think will go far.
Sure. Wow. You're going to go far. All right, here we go.
Mick.
Okay.
Candy Muse. And Rose. Oh, I got 3 of them.
Okay, so what you're saying right now, the top 4 of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 13 is Elliot with 2 T's, Gottmik, Candy Muse, and Rose.
Yes.
Okay, very good. I think that's pretty good.
That is pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with myself.
I don't think I would have chosen Rose. But the problem is, I think I would have said Simone. I think I would have said Simone Gottmik, but I wouldn't have said Candy Muse. I would have only gotten 2. I would have said Simone and Gottmik.
Candy Muse, you could tell Candy was television. Candy is made for television, and that will, as we've talked about, that's the reason they've held her along. They've realized that this is another group of girls that there's no conflict with anybody, and the only one who may possibly stir that up would be her.
Mm-hmm.
So that's got to be it. So
yeah.
Did you take your 4?
No, I already knew who. I already knew because of the
oh, that's right. You did know. You did know the order.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'm pretty impressed with myself.
You should be impressed with yourself. I was surprised. I went to go look at it. I was like, okay, let's hear Taylor be wrong. And you weren't that wrong.
Yeah.
So, anything else going on in your life, Taylor? Before we made our predictions, right?
Mm-hmm. Will Rue always comes to the reunion as a boy?
Mm-hmm.
But will she have on some ridiculous?
No. Now I'm sure she's vaccinated. Now I think they figured shit out, and she'll have makeup and everything there.
Okay.
This remember that was like early days of the pandemic, and it was like
right.
No one was seeing anyone. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm sure they figured that part out. So I think there will be a Rue made up as a boy.
And how long is this episode?
I'm assuming it's going to be the whole 90 minutes, but no Untucked. Someone said 2.5 hours. And I was like, if it's 2.5 hours, they can go fuck themselves. I'm not watching 2.5 hours.
Because if the reunion is 2.5 hours, unless it is where there's like people fly across country to get into a fist fight. Like, yeah. That is the only way that would actually work.
Yeah. And we have to wait for them to like
exactly
get off the airplane and
yeah. Or all sitting looking at our nails and checking our phones.
Yeah. Or maybe it's an hour of bar rescue commercial things and like, get out of your fucking bar, right? Just God, I speak.
You don't know how bad I need you.
I don't watch them. I speed through them, and even speeding through them, I hate them.
They're horrible. They're absolutely horrible. We just figured out that if we start watching it about 8:45, we can fast forward through all of it because we watch it on Philo or whatever. Mm-hmm. That'll save me $20 a month. I can cancel that starting next week.
Yeah, no, I wait till it starts airing at 5 here. I intentionally wait till 5:30, and that takes me exactly to but not Untucked. So I don't watch Untucked. So starting at 5:30 will take me all the way until the end of the episode without commercials. Okay. So those are your predictions for the reunion. How many times do we want to do an over? No, because I have to count. I was gonna have to count how many times Candy said bitch. So unless somebody in the audience wants to count, let's do an over-under of 15. Under 15 or over 15?
Oh, that's okay. So will she say it less than 15 times or over 15 times?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say under.
Really? Then I'll take the opposite just for fun.
Just for fun. Okay. Yeah. And I'll keep count.
Oh, you're going to count it.
And I'll mark every time she says bitch on up to 15. After 15, then you just win.
Fine.
So there's no reason to do it. Okay. But what if she does right at 15?
Then
is it just a tie?
It's a tie.
Okay. All right.
It's a tie.
All right. That seems fair.
Other than that, I have nothing else to talk about. So I guess, the one thing, let's end it on this. Well, not end it. We're going to be back. In hours, but we're going to be back. Overall, because I've actually found myself talking about this a lot in private. But overall, what has been your opinion of this season as a whole?
My opinion on the season as a whole is that it will be a season. I've enjoyed doing the show with you. Let me start by saying that. And there have been a couple of good moments, but I feel like this is kind of a forgettable season. I feel like, the fact that you and I are talking about, we're still in the season and can't remember people like Kamora Hall. It was halfway through the season with her being a front runner that I would constantly forget until the show started. Oh, Olivia Lux is part of the season. And she was like one that was like doing well and stuff. I think a lot of these girls are, they're talented, but you're getting to where there's just so many that are in your head now. Those of us that really kind of watch the show and remember people on seasons that I will forget some of these girls by season 14. I may forget some of these girls by Drag Race Down Under.
Yeah. Which is in 2 weeks. So
exactly.
So listen, I may have said some of this stuff on the show already, but people have asked me about it, and it's actually, what's funny is I don't have a negative opinion of this season. And I've said I don't have a positive opinion. I literally have a literally no opinion of this season, to be honest. And it's one of these things where if I was not recapping this show and this was a pre-pandemic world and I didn't recap the show and I just went to the Abbey every week and I got nachos and I watched it with a bunch of gays and we were laughing and cheering, hooting and hollering and stuff, it would have been an enjoyable night out. I don't know if I would have, in other words, I'm talking about if I'm the person, which, by the way, I want to say this again, okay? 95% at least of the audience is this type of person that I'm talking about.
Yes.
Where they watch the show, they turn it on, they DVR it, they watch it, and they don't think at all about the show for 7 days. Okay? Right. They don't look up shit online. They don't, maybe they follow the queens on Instagram because they like the looks, but they're not engaging with the show in that a way that a super fan or a smaller portion of the audience is. We have to even take into account people who listen to this podcast are people who seek out a podcast about a show they really like. The vast majority, if even half of the number of people who watch that show listen to our podcast, I'd be very wealthy. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's a very small, that be like, whoa, Race Chaser. I guarantee you, even Race Chaser is only getting 10% or less of the people who watch RuPaul's Drag Race.
I think that's being generous.
Yeah.
That they would get 10% of it.
Yeah. So that said, if I was that average person, okay, I would be, whatever.
It's fun.
Yeah, it's on at the bar when I go, and that's a fun night. I had my nachos to go back to doing whatever I'm doing. Okay, and so it wasn't a horrible season that way.
I love that at a bar, your first go-to isn't, I have a drink, I have a beer, I have nachos.
I'm going to tell you why. And I wish Evan Ayers was on the show with me right now. When Evan was in town, we decided to watch Drag Race at the world famous Abbey. Okay. Mm-hmm. And they have an area where you can watch it and you have your own little booth and stuff like that. I was actually telling Aiden that even if they open up, I'm sure they're open again, but like if they do Drag Race viewings, you could actually do it in a very safe way because you're in these like big giant circular booths, and then there's another one. So you're separated by every person.
They could put a piece of plexiglass between the two curves and that.
So anyway, but they have happy hours because again, Drag Race on the East Coast. When we have the East Coast, it's from 5 to 6:30. It's very early. So they have happy hour specials running during Drag Race. And so, whenever, I don't know if you've ever gone to a happy hour special, if you get a happy hour, like, quesadilla, it's like it's like small, it's cheap, but you're getting like little bites, right?
Like tapas.
Yeah, like tapas, right, yeah. So.
Tapas.
No, it's okay. I don't do threesomes. But, But so Evan and I, when we went, we ordered a bunch of these appetizers, and sure enough, actually, it would be like a few chicken wings or, like 2 sliders or something like that, right? The nachos, Taylor, they were a gigantic platter of nachos. Like, it was like the Queen of Sheba was coming in like 4 muscular, and then it's just me and Evan, and
her show wasn't until 9:30.
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage, Queen of Sheba.
Yeah, and it's me and Evan, and we have already like little plates, and we didn't know how big they were, and they bring this giant mountain of nachos, and it's me, Fat Pig, and Evan.
I was gonna say, they're like, oh, that the little blonde one's the feeder.
Yeah, yeah, like the little blonde one was probably like thin when they first met, you know, and then it was embarrassing, but I will say we polished them off, and they were very delicious. So I'm like. My dream is to live in a world where I can go back and watch RuPaul's Drag Race and eat nachos again. That is my dream.
2 things. Yeah. One, I'd like it noted that in the chat room, Jordan Darling just said Abby Nachos is my drag name, which is a great drag name.
Yeah.
Secondly, you would never do a threesome?
It's been talked about with me and Aiden because, you know, we've had the discussion that, you know, Aiden's young, you know. Mm-hmm. He's of age. I'm not Matt Gaetz, right? But and so one of the things we've talked about, and he says he doesn't know, right? He is not aware. He's not in a position to know. But one of the things we've talked about is, you know, he says he loves me, wants to be with me forever, blah 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 blah. But you know, at a certain point, I don't want him to ever miss out on life, right? And so I don't want him to be, you know, 35 and be the guy from behind the candelabra, you know.
Okay.
And resenting me.
I just got a mental picture of you behind a piano in a fur coat.
And a big giant fur coat, like, oh, how do you like my coat? This old thing. Which, by the way, I forgot to bring up one of the topics for today, but we'll do it when we return. In talking to Aiden, there are so many forgotten gay icons. So I want you to chew on this, and I want people at home to chew on this too. There are so many forgotten gay icons. I think we should do like a limited series podcast just covering these icons. Just in going through with Aiden, here's who I have, and it was shocking. He had no idea who most of these people were. Right?
Okay.
Phyllis Diller. He had no idea who she was.
Okay.
Liberace, never heard of her.
What?
Never heard of him. No.
Okay.
He thought Liberace was like a Chef Boyardee, like a chef. Okay? He did know about Waylon Flowers and Madam because I've talked about it.
I was going to say, you've talked about it a million times on the show.
Rock Hudson, nope. Paul Lynde, because Ben did Paul Lynde on Snatch Game. It's the only reason he knew. Charles Nelson Riley, no. Rip Taylor, no. Siegfried and Roy, no. Now some of those aren't gay icons. Oh, and he didn't know who Richard Simmons was. I
was just going to say, what about Richard Simmons?
Didn't know. I thought that's actually how the whole conversation started, because I was talking about the Finding Richard Simmons podcast, and
Such a good podcast.
And he goes, "Who's Richard Simmons?" But it makes sense if you think about, when did he vanish? Like in the early teens.
Yeah, maybe about that, the early teens. So he would have been a little kid.
Yeah. Stop.
Your boyfriend.
Yeah.
A little kid.
I know, Taylor. I know.
The early teens, or in your case, the early tweens, is what your boyfriend would have been when Richard Simmons disappeared.
Yeah, well.
I'm going back and listening to old. This kind of speaks to this. You had talked about, I'm listening to All Stars 2 Revisited, and you talked about the fact that you wanted to do a mini series about gay, female-centric gay camp classics. Like you talked about Imitation of Life, and you came up with 3 of them, and then you couldn't remember, or you said a 4th one, but you're like, I don't know, I feel like there's another movie that'd be better. The Women. The Women from the 30s would be a good one for that.
Where there's never a man in that movie. Did you know that?
There isn't?
No.
I've never seen that movie. That's one of those that I feel like I should see, and I've just never seen it. But I've heard that it's just a great, bitchy, gay camp classic from like the 30s or something.
Yeah, George Cukor, Joan Crawford, and a bunch of people. All right, Taylor, at this point, we are going to take a break. Okay? Now, for those of you at home, no time will have passed. Okay? When we come back, it'll be hours and hours later. We will have seen the reunion. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the gay icons. We're going to see if you have more for me. And we will discuss all that when we come back. But until then...
This is Amy Poehler. My new movie, Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, is coming to theaters June 14th, and it's making me feel joy and sadness and anger, definitely some disgust, and I think a little fear. But I'm also feeling these new emotions like anxiety, embarrassment, envy, and ennui.
It's what you call the boredom.
Okay, that one was weird. It's going to be the feel everything movie of the summer. Disney and Pixar's Inside Out 2, rated PG, parental guidance suggested. Only in theaters June 14th. Get tickets now.
Yeah! All right, everybody. Well, now it's been a few hours, and we are now back. What's so funny?
Yep.
It
definitely was a few hours.
I'm going to tell you, and I'm not being funny. I'm not going to be funny. I'm not being funny. I'm not being jokey. I'm not being jokey.
What else is new?
I know. Yeah. We ended our recording like at 1:45 or something like that PM or 1:30 or around that 1:30ish.
Yeah.
Oh, 4:30 your time. 4:30 your time. So 1:30 my time. For me, Drag Race started, okay, at 5 p.m. So that was 3.5 hours. In fact, in that 3.5 hours, I drove somewhere to my brother's house, hung out with my nieces, picked things up, came back, talked to my boyfriend a couple of times, like 3.5 hours, long time,
Yeah.
That 3.5 hours felt infinitely shorter.
It felt like a moment.
It felt like a moment compared to that, what we just watched.
This was horrible. This was absolutely the more I basically told my husband at one point, he tried to get up and I told him if I had to watch it, he had to watch it and to sit back down because I was not going through this torture by myself. This made me mad.
Yeah.
That given as long as the season has been, this was such filler queen, which I get the reunions can be, but they all didn't, with the exception of each asking each other one question. There was no discussion between any of the queens about anything.
No. And RuPaul now can't even be bothered to do the talk to them. Now it's like a producer, like they did a confessional and then they just edited in RuPaul going like, hey, no, but not even that. It's like, now it's Denali and then Denali just doing a monologue or everyone did like a monologue and then here's my music video.
And they got them all to make a sassy face, to all do a thing where they waved, for all a thing where they were excited, and they just clipped it in. Because at one point in the very beginning, where they were talking about everybody say, where they were saying, look, say hi to each other, and Lala goes, hi, RuPaul, like where they tried to like edit that to where you couldn't hear her, but she's clearly saying hi, RuPaul, when it wasn't what was supposed to be addressed.
Look,
that thing for RuPaul took her 45 minutes max to record.
Yeah. Let me tell you this. I'm going to say two things. One, and I'm being honest here. I feel so lucky, so blessed, okay, that as part of my career, one of the things that I am lucky enough to be paid to do is talk about RuPaul's Drag Race, okay? I really do feel that.
Yeah.
And most of the time, it doesn't even feel like work. It feels like I'm just having fun with my friends, okay? Watching that, now I'm having fun right now, actually, even, but watching this thing today, the entire time, and I didn't have to take notes. I didn't have to do anything. It felt like work. I felt like, in fact, I was telling my boyfriend, I talked to him at one point during the show. I said, if I didn't have to watch this for work, I would have just turned it off.
Yeah. No, I told Rodan, my co-host on Pod, as my co-pilot, because he was finishing up Drag Race UK tonight, and I said, I'm going to give you the gift of time. Do not watch this reunion.
I'm gonna confess something.
Watch
to
something
you.
else.
At one commercial break, I decided to go downstairs and grab a snack, but I couldn't figure out what it was. So I go, you know what? I think I want microwave popcorn. So I actually put it in the microwave, waited it for it to be done, right? Because I thought to myself, I'll just rewind it, you know? And by the time everything was done and I got back, they had gone through another commercial break. And I missed Elliot with 2 T's and somebody else. I don't even know who, right?
Lala?
I saw Lala.
Okay.
So who got eliminated after Elliot?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Anyway, whoever those 1 or 2 people were, I didn't see it. And
Tina Burner?
Oh, I didn't see Tina Burner's. You're right. Yeah, I didn't see.
So you didn't see Tina Burner's video?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh.
So I came back and then I could go back and look at this, right? And I was like, meh. Like, did I wondered, I'm wondering if I missed anything with this, Elliot. Did I miss anything with Elliot or Tina?
No, no. Okay. So the whole thing of where it basically was, rather than meet the queens, you've met the queens. That's what they should have called this.
Yeah, you've met the queens. Because it's really
remember
the queens.
Yeah, remember the queens. And that was the thing where they did the thing where they kind of recapped the montage of the season.
Yeah,
there was so much of it that I was like, oh my god, that happened. Oh my god, that happened. Oh my god, like were things that I did not remember at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, which just kind of speaks to how long this fucking season was.
Now,
but
I don't
like maxi challenges and stuff that I was like, oh yeah, that happened this season kind of thing. But it was the idea of each of them getting a video. You sent me a text message because I was letting the DVR kind of load up.
Uh-huh.
You sent me a text message at 8:06 that said, I'm bored already.
Yeah.
And I looked at my husband and said, we are not even remotely starting this until 8:45.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to deal with commercials too on top of it.
No.
So, and it was just was not good. It was not with 1 or 2 notable exceptions. The videos were all horrible.
Well, let me ask you, because I actually have a very strange thing that I liked about this special. This is very, very strange. What was the thing were there any things you liked about this special?
The things that I liked about the special were I only liked 2 of the videos.
Okay.
And the 2 videos that I liked were Utica's and Olivia's. I thought Olivia looked gorgeous in her video.
Well, also it looked like an 80s video.
Like an early 90s video. But yeah, that very, very of that En Vogue, style of it. But still, I just thought she looked great. And I thought Utica's was very interesting as far as it was very I forget what the word is I'm looking for, but it was interesting to look at.
Sure.
I thought Utica's was.
Sure.
But I just those are the only 2 things that I really liked. I didn't like the idea of the 69 questions with each of the queens. I thought it was a great idea, but it was clear that a lot of the answers were fed to them.
Already. A lot. They were all completely scripted. I don't know if they may have written them themselves. Yeah. But they all knew it was memorized and choreographed and.
Yeah. So it was not good. So the whole thing was there's really not a lot to say other than it wasn't very good. And my thought on this is hopefully by this time next year, we will not have we will be able to have a reunion on season 14 where everybody is sitting in the same room and you're able to have that interaction and stuff. But if they're going to expect these girls to do these from home, send them all a mic to be able to talk into.
Especially this Denali, whose sound in her interview and not Denali, sorry, not Denali, Lala Ree.
I couldn't understand what she was saying.
Yeah, the echo was so awful in both at Roscoe's and in her original interview place. It was completely awful. And I thought the stuff with the Final Four was a big waste of time. And then they try and pretend that they haven't seen each other. I'm like, bitch, Gottmik and Candy Muse have done lives together. Maybe the other one's seen it. Yeah. So I don't know what's this illusion.
No, we've seen things where Rose and Gottmik have gotten together.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There was a thing a while back of where they kiss, on the lips, and they both go ooh, like that. And of course, then that sent everybody into. the stratosphere. But yeah, it's the whole thing. And even that, they were all, it was very much that where we're expected to look excited, but nobody knows what to talk about when the four of them were on the stage with Rue. And it's like they didn't know how to act. It was weird. The whole thing was, it made me mad. I would have rather foregone a reunion, or even gone back to the way that they used to do it, especially with no audience, of where they would just kind of bring a couple of them out at a time, on a stage and interview.
Yeah, it was a very, very, very strange. Well, no, it was actually very old school of them. It was mixed with the Zoom, where it was like clips you've never seen and hijinks and this and that. And you're like, but then why do they have to make, in the old days, it was an hour. And like, now they made it 2 hours.
But back in the old days, it was an hour on Logo.
Yeah.
Who had a hard time getting sponsors. VH1, they know that we will all sit for 2 hours so that they can promote, Marriage Camp and Black Ink Crew and all of these other horrible shows that they're expecting us all to watch once Drag Race goes off the air.
But here's the deal, though. In the advertising business, to me, that means they don't have a lot of advertisers. A lot of times they use those things when you're promoting your own shows because you don't have someone paying for it. So it's like, and it's a lot of those shows. It's not one per commercial block. It's like multiple shows, which means that I don't know. It makes no sense.
But that's also us watching it on Philo or whatever. So it might be that people that watched it on their local cable subscriber got a bunch of other
like local commercials.
Like local commercials and stuff. We just get the same 5 or 6 of those horrible Jersey Shore guys going, yeah, buddy. And,
clean up your fucking bar. Yeah. Bar rescue a million times, which is so funny because I know one of the producers on that show, and I don't ever want to bring up. Like, I actually wanted to ask about. I don't watch that show, but like,
we had a I got to be careful what I say, but I know someone who owned a bar locally that got pretty far in the application for that. And they were turned down at the last minute because they pretty much wanted a friend of mine to be a part of this because it was her mother that owned the bar. And they thought, well, it'll be fun to have the mother-daughter dynamic. And she's like, I don't work for my mother. And there's reasons I don't work for my mother. And they said, but that would be how your mom gets, on the show. And she goes, well, then I guess my mom's not getting on the show. So,
interesting.
People who know who I'm talking about, but it got really far, like where like producers and stuff came and like sat and spent the day and interviewed the staff and interviewed everybody, and it was no.
So my friend Adam Vaught is going to Philly this weekend with his girlfriend. And I said, why? And he goes, well, because I'm leaving in a month or so, and it's a weekend away. It's like a short trip down to Philly from DC, and I go, but you're going on purpose? He goes, yeah.
Hey, I love Philly.
What is there to do in Philly?
Hotel. There's a million things to do in Philly. Philly is full of culture. Philly is full of literal culture of hundreds of years. It is, you can do all of the historical things. There's all the historical things like the Liberty Bell.
You're going to do that.
Where Independence Hall. There's Betsy Ross's house. There's Valley Forge. There's Gettysburg is not terribly far away. So there's all the historical things to do. We have a beautiful art museum. The actual city itself, Center City, is beautiful. It's rich with culture, and there are buildings there that are literally from the Revolutionary War. You've also got the Jersey Shore, which is only a 45 to 60 minute drive away, where you've got the boardwalk is. The Atlantic City boardwalk is horrible. It's a cesspool. But there are all sorts of other boardwalks you can go to, and there's great seafood, and there's great restaurants. And then on the other side, you've got the Poconos, or as we call it, the Poconos. And you can go skiing, or you can spend the weekends in the woods in the summer, where you can go to the lake. And there's a million things to do in the Jersey Philadelphia area, the Tri-City area, as it were.
Like his number 2 cultural spot he's going to go were the Rocky Steps.
Yeah, that's the art museum. And hopefully he will go, if he picks a cheesesteak place, he should go to Pat Steaks. Everybody talks about Geno's and they're right across the street from each other. But I grew up going to Pat Steaks, and Pat Steaks is my favorite.
Is that the one with the cheese whiz or the one with the provolone?
That's the one with the cheese whiz. Oh, now I started something, because now I am a librarian and Lauren telling me about Jim Steaks and Tony Luke's. And there's I have actually never had Geno's, but when I was a little kid, my dad would take me to Pat Steaks because that's where he went when he was a little kid. So that is why I love Pat Steaks as much. It will run through you like goose shit in an aluminum funnel, but it is so good. It is wonderful.
Well, you're going to Philly soon. Are you going to go there?
No, I'm only going for the weekend. I'm going up Mother's Day weekend to finally give my mother a hug for the first time in 2 years, 2+ years. I haven't seen my mom since before I had cancer. That's how long it's been since I've seen my mom. So I'm going up on a Friday and I'm leaving on a Monday. So
is it going to be one of these things? Because you're kind of an emotional person. You're going to sob and hold her close and just sob and sob and sob.
No, because it's not like I haven't talked to her this whole time. And, we zoomed through a good part of the pandemic.
So you're telling me when her son had cancer, she didn't come down and see you?
Yeah, that's a whole thing. But, yeah, no, that's fine. That's... Okay, Lauren just said in the, what do you call it? I won't go to Geno's because they're scumbags. That is such a Philly answer. I love Lauren. I love Lauren S. No, she didn't come down, and nobody came down, and I offered her to come down, and she was mad that I didn't go get a second opinion up at Johns Hopkins, and I think that's part of the reason that she didn't come down. So, whatever. It's fine. I invited her down. I said, I look great. I've lost all sorts of weight. Granted, it was because I had cancer, but still, I wanted her to see that I was doing well. And honestly, I probably was not well enough to where I probably would have scared her more if she saw just how weak I was. But
is this something you've processed with your therapist?
I just started talking about it with my therapist. I haven't really processed. You mean the fact that my mom never came down?
Yeah.
No, we haven't gotten to that.
What do you mean you haven't gotten to it?
No, we've talked about other things with my therapist. Have I even talked about here that I'm seeing a therapist?
Have you talked about it here? I don't know.
I don't know. Have I talked about it? So yeah, no, I'm seeing a therapist. That are we playing the therapy music? Are we playing the we need to talk about Evan music? I like that music. I think it's very relaxing. No, we because my 3-year anniversary was a couple weeks ago, so we definitely talked about that, and that there's definitely parts of that I only recently realized just how sick I was. I don't think that I realized that I was as close to really not being well as I was, because I was living it. I was just sort of I had moments when I was in the hospital, but for the most part, when I was trying to get back to work and eventually started to get better, people were like, no, you were gray. You were gray and gaunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just sort of, I just kind of processed it. I started processing it the other night with, my therapist's name is Tom.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of made a joke, and he's like, you keep making jokes about cancer. Why is that? And I was like, oh, fuck, that's a question I would ask. Damn it. And we processed it a little bit, and it's a defense mechanism.
And your sister didn't come. And your sister didn't come down either.
Nope, nobody came down. My sister came down a year later. She came down with my niece and my nephew. More than that, actually, about a year and a half. And she came down. I got sick in 18. They came down in 19. And I think that was just to check and see how I'm doing, but also that my niece and my nephew are teenagers, and they're not going to be in the house much longer once they leave for college and stuff. So I think she wanted them to come down and do Disney and spend time, hanging out with me. And we had a wonderful time.
Why do I feel like it? Yeah. Why do I feel like if Babalu broke his arm, his entire family would be at the hospital?
No, I that's not the way his family is so much. They seem to be very much of where they're like, okay, well, you've got, he'll take care of you.
Oh, really?
Call us if you need something. Got our number, right? I'm like, oh, why am I saying my real name? Taylor's got a number. You have to beep that out.
What's funny is I didn't even notice it.
Times.
Thank you for noticing.
I know. But see, that's how comfortable I am talking about this. I just revealed my secret identity to people.
The Latte boy.
So.
Now I gotta. What's wrong with my dumb jokes?
What were you getting ready to say?
No, I said your real name again.
Oh.
Who was there for you? Because I remember you said at one point, I don't know if you've ever shared this on the air, that you were already picking the songs that we played at your funeral.
Who was there for me? Who was there for me?
Yeah.
Joe Betance was there for me.
That's right. Remember Lori?
And I'm being serious.
Yeah. The first, everyone should know, Lori's first appearance on Afterthought was a special show we made for Taylor to listen in the hospital. He didn't even know who Lori was.
You made a special show for me from the hospital? Why do I not remember that?
Because you're a heartless human being.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, we did a whole special.
Joe called me every single day I was in the hospital, and there were days that he definitely talked to me for like an hour, and there were days that I was only good for about 10 minutes, and then he could tell that I was tired of my voice. But
now it's 2 minutes.
He tried to shut up. He tried to make me laugh, and he succeeded a lot of the time. And that is the infamous where he said, "I need you to listen to the episode of Drag Race, the All Stars 1, where Evan thought that That's Amore was sung by Cher." And I remember where you just said, "Just promise me you'll listen to it today." And I'm like, I'm laying in a hospital bed. I don't know and he was like, "You got nothing else to do. Just listen to it." So I decided to listen to it. I just remember all I wrote to you was the words "actual rage." I was so mad, but you were there for me. My friend Rodan was there for me. I had other family members that were there for me, but you also have to remember, none of my extended family knew what was going on because my grandfather was very sick in the hospital at the same time. So nobody in my family knew that I was in the hospital at the same time. So,
even your mom and your sister didn't know?
No, my mom and my sister and my dad's wife knew. But she was a nurse. So I was going to her with a lot of questions that I had and that sort of stuff. She's the one that I called when they wanted to put in the PICC line in my arm, because the only experience I had with PICC lines was hospice patients. So when they came in, after the oncologist comes in, has a conversation with me, leaves, this group comes in that they're going to do like surgery from my hospital bed where they're going to put in a PICC line, and I freaked out. And they were trying to explain to me that the antibiotics that I was on were caustic to my veins and all this kind of stuff. So then I called my dad's wife, or who was my stepmother, and like hysterical, and she was like, no, this is good. This is a good thing. You need this. So she was there for me in that regards as well.
How was...
And she wanted to talk to the oncologist, and she had questions and all that kind of stuff. So how was what?
Now, we know Babalu, people who listen to Pod as my co-pilot knows, but I don't know if this has really been discussed on this show, is a very emotional, he wears his heart on his sleeve kind of guy. How was he during this?
I will say this.
Yeah.
And it's fun. I was just talking about this with my therapist, is that yes, he is someone who definitely wears his heart on his sleeve. He is very much, you can usually see everything on his face, and the emotions that he's feeling and stuff like that. And he was, for the most part, very, very good. Like when the doctor came in and said, "This is what we're seeing. This is what we need to do." And like woke me up out of he woke me up at like 7:00 in the morning to tell me this. And right after he left, as I think anybody would, became upset. And Babalu walked in on this as the nurse is trying to like, not calm me down, but try to like comfort me kind of thing. And because the charge nurse came in right after the surgeon left and said, "Mr. Latte boy, how are you doing?" And I burst into tears. And the nurse who had been my nurse for the previous 2 days while I was waiting for my surgery date, came in and started yelling at the charge nurse and said, "What did you say to him?" And he's like, I didn't say anything. I said, how's he doing? And I'm just like, oh, like throwing my head back. And Babalu comes walking into this because he came in to see me before he left for work and was like, looking like, what the hell is going on? So they calmed me down and then they left. And he said, what is happening? Because he was starting to get scared. And he's like, what's happening? And I said, they found something on my liver. They think that it's cancer. They have to remove part of my liver. This is, I don't understand. This is it. Like kind of the whole thing of where like I was convinced myself that, this was it and, kiss mommy goodbye kind of thing. And he just kind of looked at me and he went, okay. And I went, okay. And he goes, if it's cancer, we'll get through it. That's all we'll do. He goes, we'll get through it. He goes, until we have answers. He goes, there's no reason to get, hysterical and all that kind of stuff. He goes, we'll figure it out. That's all you need to know is that we'll figure it out. And then I said, okay. And he sat there with me for a couple of minutes, but then he had to leave for work. Now, I am sure he got in his car and got hysterical. I mean, that's probably, but he was always very good when he came in to see me, to visit me. He visited me a lot of times in the morning and he visited me every single night where he would stay until, from the time he would go home, have dinner, then come over and hang out with me. He would bring me grapes from the cafeteria. He would bring me the little like clamshell of for some reason, these grapes were like, I looked forward to this. I look forward to grapes and I look forward to Lorna Doones because they had to give me something at night when they gave me my insulin. So they would give me the little packets of Lorna Doones that were a little 4-pack. And that became the thing that after my husband left, there was that window of time that I'm like, I get Lorna Doones and then I get to go to sleep and then I'm happy. So whenever I see Lorna Doones now, I think about cancer whenever I see Lorna Doones.
You can't tell because I'm not super close to the camera and stuff, but my eyes, when you were telling that story, I'm being honest, were welling up with tears. Like, because I can imagine being on both sides of that conversation.
Yeah.
And, yeah, my eyes were welling up with tears. I guess I just have one more question, which is...
I'm waiting for it. Go ahead.
I don't know why you're laughing at my...
You know exactly why I'm laughing. Go ahead.
How long after you came home did he fuck your wound?
That day.
Oh, really?
That day. In fact, we didn't even make it in the house. We were still in the car.
Mm-hmm.
So you know when the guy pushes you in the wheelchair and then you get into the car?
Yeah.
Like open the door, hard dick right there, and then just right there in front of the hospital, just fucked my wound.
And your liver was just like, what is this?
Ow, ow, ow.
Ow. What is going on? Haven't we been through enough? Yeah. So I guess the next logical question is, what did you think of Lala and Denali's lip sync?
Well, excuse me. I would say this.
Yeah.
When you realize that Rue, like halfway through, I thought this is a no-win situation for Rue.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's either going to piss off the trans community or the black community by not giving the donation. Uh-huh. So I'm glad that I think she should have just given both sides $10,000. I think that should have been just the way it was. But we know that that's never going to happen because VH1. But I don't understand why Lala would choose to lip sync with a dark wig and a big black screen behind her because you couldn't necessarily see her through a lot of it. Whereas Denali's look was it was better lit. She was in a light outfit and it was just a lot easier to watch her. Between the two of them, kind of going back and forth, Denali was the better of the two, I thought. But I mean, Lala didn't do herself any favors with her ensemble and set.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, going into next week's finale, what are we expecting, Taylor? Who's going to win? You got 3 out of 4 last for this season. Who is the winner? If you're predicting it right now, you're calling it. Who is going to be the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 13?
I have two. And there's part of me that almost thinks... There's part of me that almost thinks this will be the first main season where there's a tie.
Okay.
I kind of am calling it that I think that it will either be Simone, Gottmik, or Simone and Gottmik.
Wow, you really went on there on a limb there, Jimmy the Greek. With that, it's going to be Simone, Gottmik, or Simone and Gottmik.
It's either going to be Simone, Gottmik, Rosé, or Candy.
Yeah,
that's my pick.
Okay,
that's my pick.
That sounds like
who do I want to see win?
Yeah, then why don't we change it to that?
I want to see. All right, who's going to win, Simone or Gottmik? Who do I want to win? I want Simone to win. I want Simone to win. I would be happy if Gottmik won, but I would feel more better if I would feel more better. I would feel happier, I think, if Simone won. Mm-hmm. By the way, 2 bitches.
Oh, there were 2. Yeah, you won.
2 bitches the whole episode.
Oh, there was 2. I only heard
Speaking
1.
Of
so
winning. Okay,
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, you did win that.
Yeah.
I only heard 1. So good for you. All right. Well, Taylor. On that note,
wait. Who?
We're out of time. We're out of time, Taylor. I'm so sorry. I think you've pretty much. I mean, look. Who do I want to win? I really don't. I don't care, right? But I agree with you. It's either going to be Simone or Gottmik. I mean, I don't know. I don't care.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. I know you're trying to finish up, but let me just ask you this. Who of the season? Now, we already talked earlier that this is kind of a forgettable season for the most part.
What season?
Who of this season?
Okay.
Such a dork. Who of this season do you see as being a potential on All-Stars 7, 8, or 9? Is there anybody from the season that you could say, I could see them being on an All-Stars?
Well, look, for All-Stars now, the All-Star 6 cast has not been officially... Do you know who the All-Star 6 cast is?
I know 1 or 2 of them.
Oh, okay. As far as the All-Star...
I don't know, but I mean, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, but I mean, just in future seasons, is there anybody that stands out that you could say they'll be back for an All-Stars?
I think you're going to get a Tamisha back. I think you're going to get a Denali back. Maybe a Tina Burner.
You think?
I don't know about Tina Burner. Utica, because she's so kooky and weird. Candy's not going to win, so she'll be back. Anyone who didn't win this season is going to be back. Rosé, Candy, and or Gottmik or Simone. Even though I think my money would be on Gottmik.
Yeah, I was going to say of those, I think that the reason that they would not pick Gottmik would be because she would be good for an All-Star season. More so that I feel like Simone's arc, she kind of met her whole arc there, whereas I feel like Gottmik still has stuff to learn and stuff. Not that she hasn't grown. She clearly has grown as a queen, but I mean, I think they want to see her go even further and would like to explore that more on an All-Stars if she doesn't win next week.
All right. Very well said. Well, on that note, Taylor, bring back my girls. Bring back my girls. Thank you for listening to RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Email us at dragracerecap@afterthought.media. For more Drag Race and LGBTQ content, support us over at Patreon at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. You can follow Taylor the Latte Boy on Instagram and Twitter at PIMC Taylor. Follow Joe Betance on Instagram at Joe Betance. That's JoeBetance. This episode was produced by Luke Stamen. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast.